so I tell her a week. She smiles and hands me a room key, asking if the valet can get my luggage. I just tell her I'm good, but she still asks the doorman to show me to the elevator. He does so and pushes my floor number before sending me up to my room. Opening the door, I head straight for the phone. The anger has been building inside me, and I have to tell that son of a bitch what a fucking asshole he is. When I dial the number I haven't dialed in so long, my fingers are trembling. "Hello?" he answers. "You fucking son of a bitch. How could you lie to me for all those years?" "Doll, calm down. What are you talking about?" "Don't tell me to calm down, you asshole. You cheated on me and said you didn't. How could you?" "Doll, it was a mistake. It didn't mean anything." "Are you fucking kidding me? A mistake is forgetting to pay the mortgage. You screwed someone else." "I'm sorry, Doll. Let me explain." "No, Ben. Not this time. I won't. No more. I wish you never came back. Then I wouldn't have had to know what we really were. Nothing. You've only caused me more pain. Your death put me through hell, and just when I'm about to start my life over, you come back to hurt me some more? I wish you would have kept playing dead." "Please, Doll, just come over. We can talk." "Fuck you, Ben. I don't ever want to talk to you again." I scream and hang up. After I slam the phone down, I try to calm down. I call room service and order a pot of coffee. I hope my queasy stomach can handle it. I move to the glass doors and close the wall of curtains. I briefly take notice of the beaches and mountains out the window before pulling the drapes closed, and shiver as a sudden chill goes through me. I stop and scrutinize my own reflection in the glass. How was I so naive? I saw the email. How cliched were his attempts to get me back? And I fell for them, never questioning his fidelity. I try to look into my own eyes, but see nothing but that young girl. There's a knocking on the door, and I hear, "Room service." I wonder how long I've been standing here evaluating the merits of my stupidity. I close the curtains, open the door, and take the tray over to the fireplace. I sit in the large overstuffed chair and inhale the fresh coffee bean aroma wafting from my cup. Looking at the tray, I notice the sugar bowl. I take a deep breath and wonder if I should have ordered tea instead, because all my thoughts suddenly drift to River. Would he do the same thing to me? Is he doing the same thing to me? I can feel my heart beating faster than it should. I drop my spoon on the floor, and when I bend down to pick it up, I start to cry when I see my boots. The boots River loves to see me in. I unzip them and toss them to the ground. Then I remember them hitting the floor at Smitten's and my stomach falls. What we have is different than what Ben and I had. I know it is. And I also know he would never do to me what Ben did. I think about him asking me the first time we had coffee together if I used sugar, and every day since then making sure I always got my morning coffee. Until this morning, and yesterday morning. I miss him, and suddenly wonder if I should have just gone home. As my thoughts continue to bounce all over the place, I try to focus on everything Belle told me. After a while, it all comes together in an easy-to-understand picture. She was in an accident the night I met River. I left the bar early that night, fearful of what would happen with River if I stayed. Belle was going to tell Ben about the baby that same night. Belle and Ben were supposed to meet that night. And Xander fits into the picture somehow as well. As one of Ben's frat brothers, he knew Ben had a girlfriend. But I never talked about Ben to River's family or friends. It all makes sense now. I went back early so Ben couldn't leave the party. Belle didn't know this and got in that car so eager to tell him she was pregnant. River came to the frat house later that night to look for Belle because obviously she had been hanging out there. And since I hardly ever went to the parties, Ben knew I'd never find out. As I sip the last of my coffee, the chill seems to subside. I mentally start building what-if scenarios. I start thinking about what path all of our lives would have taken if I had stayed that night and talked to River. Would he have brought Belle home if he didn't have to look for me? Would Belle have met up with Ben, and would they be raising a child together? Would I have broken up with Ben and chosen River? Would Ben not have taken the LA Times job and gone to grad school instead? He took that job so he could buy us a house. If he never worked for the LA Times, would he have taken on that story? Without that story, he never would have had to die. Would we all have had our happily ever afters? My head is spinning, so I lie down on the bed and pull the comforter up, thinking I would just lie down for another hour, and then exhaustion takes hold, and my mind finally finds peace as I fade away into sleep.
Chapter 23. The Change. Ben's Journal. Today wasn't just another shitty day in a long list of shitty days. It's probably the shittiest day yet. I spent hours on the phone yesterday trying to secure a place for Trent in a facility. One finally called back last night, but I needed to check it out before sending him there. I could have called Caleb to come over and stay with Trent, but I really needed to see her again. So I called Doll. That was my first mistake of the whole fucking day. When she got to the house in record time, of course, I thought she really wanted to see me. Maybe she'd thought about yesterday and decided she missed me like I missed her. I was so sure spending time together would evoke those feelings. Fuck, I was wrong. She not only rejected me, but when I tried to pull her to me like I used to, she acted like I repulsed her. For some reason, I couldn't let her see that she got to me. Why? I wanted to explain my feelings, but fuck, I've never been able to do that. And even when it probably mattered the most, I still couldn't. So instead, I hightailed it out the door. When I got back, she seemed even sadder than when she got here. I tried to talk to her to comfort her, but she squashed my attempts once again. I'm seriously starting to wonder what kind of hold this guy has over her, because when she left today, I got the feeling she wasn't coming back. The day didn't get any fucking better when my sister showed up a few minutes later. She talked to her dirtbag ex-husband, and he told her Trent was here. Had to explain everything to her, but I wasn't in the right headspace to deal with her shit. She did agree to send Trent to rehab tomorrow. She stormed out pissed and said she'd be back to stay the night. She wanted to tell Mom in person. Then, as if the day wasn't already bad enough, the phone call came. The one I knew would come eventually after seeing Sibel at Dahlia's house. I hoped Dahl wouldn't find out. I tried to tell her yesterday to soften the blow, but just couldn't do it. Of course, the college chick had to be the dick's sister. They looked so much alike, no wonder I felt like I knew him. Fuck me. That call ended any chance I had to get my doll back. Now I'm left here wondering why the fuck I ever came back.
Chapter 24. Beneath Your Beautiful. I wake up and look at the clock. It's 5:45 a.m. Shit, I've been asleep for more than 12 hours. For the first time in my life, I don't like being in the dark. I quickly get up and open the curtains, letting the faint light of dawn into my room. I turn the fireplace back on and get under the thick mass of blankets, once again feeling chilled to the bone. I grab the hotel phone and decide I should at least tell Ari where I am. But when she doesn't answer, I leave her a message. I don't call River. We need to talk in person. Blasting the radio of the hotel alarm clock, I lie there and just listen to whatever songs come on. Music tells so many stories. It's a world within itself. It calms me, speaks to me, gives me the guidance I sometimes need. So as I listen to Clarity, I close my eyes and think about everything again. I think about it as a story that accompanies the words to the song. And when I do this, really listen and visualize myself as part of the song, everything seems clearer than it did yesterday. Taking a series of deep breaths, I feel a little better. I doze off, and when I wake up again, it's 7:15 a.m. I actually fell asleep with the light coming in the room. I've never done that before. Broken is playing when I wake up again, and I say out loud, I'm not broken. Because I'm not. I know I'm not. What Ben did is unforgivable, but he hasn't been my future for a long time. I can't let his infidelity change what's right in front of me. As the song ends and a new one begins, I don't even hear the words. I just lie there, staring at the ceiling and thinking about River and me, our fights, our love, our life. I have to believe everything will be okay. His reluctance to tell me anything about Belle and her accident was done out of love, not deceit, and I not only accept this, I understand it. I can trust him. I do trust him. He didn't want to tell me that Ben had betrayed me. He didn't want to hurt me in that way. It would have been so easy for him to turn me against Ben from the day he figured out who Ben was, but his love for me stopped him. After everything, I still believe we will be okay. My only question? Has he forgiven me? I quickly jump out of bed. I need to get back to LA. I'm sitting down to put my boots on when I hear the song Sexy Back playing outside my room. I stop what I'm doing and wonder if I'm imagining it. But when I hear a knock on the door, I know what it means. I drop my boots to the floor and run over to open the door without even looking through the peephole to see who it is, because I know. I have to grip the knob for support to keep my knees from buckling beneath me. I draw in a slow, silent breath of relief, because there he stands, leaning against the door frame with his head down. He looks up and his eyes are sparkling as he hands me my phone. "I did promise to always call," he says, and his words make my stomach flutter. I reach for the phone. My breathing stops as I take him in. He's breathtaking. He's long, lean, and so alarmingly good-looking that I can't look away. It's not because of how attractive he is, though. It's because of his eyes. They tell me everything I need to know. This is the man I love. The man who loves me. The man I will be with forever. I feel like I'm being transported through time, back to the night I first met him. He's wearing his Foreigner double vision t-shirt and black beanie. His light brown hair is sticking out underneath it. His guitar is strapped over his shoulder and he sets it down inside the room as he places his phone to his ear. Justin Timberlake's song is still playing on my phone. "And you promised to always answer." I'm standing so close to him, but not near enough. I'm trembling as a sense of utter euphoria pulses through me. He came for me. He really came for me. Gripping the phone, I step closer to him and smile. No, I promise to never hang up. He too steps closer, and we are now standing toe to toe. "You have to answer in order to not hang up. So technically, you promise to always answer." I smile at him as he takes the phone from my hand and hits the end button. He does the same to his and tosses both phones inside the room. He removes his beanie, tossing that as well, and then combs his hands through his hair. Our eyes connect and it feels like minutes pass, but it's only seconds. That electric pull is still there, stronger than ever. "I hope you don't think I'm a stalker. Harry told me where you were." I bite my lip nervously and gaze into his gleaming green eyes. "No, you're definitely not a stalker." He smiles. Not a full smile, but that half grin I love so much because it emphasizes his dimples. His lush lips are begging for me to kiss him, and I don't want to waste another minute as I throw my arms around his neck and crash my mouth to his. He puts one hand behind my neck and the other on the small of my back. We both open our mouths wide as our lips connect, and I feel the connection between our souls. This kiss leaves me breathless. He slowly pulls back and grabs my cheeks with the palms of his hands softly rubbing my skin. "I love you more." "And I will love you more forever," I say back because it's the absolute truth. He leans in and this time he softly puts his lips to mine, never taking his hands off my face. I can feel tears of joy streaming down my face. After we finally come up for air, he lifts me in his arms and then carries me to the bed. He sits down with me in his lap and I curl my legs around him. Kissing my head repeatedly, he tries to ease my sobs, but they won't stop. I start to settle as he lightly rocks me. When his hands softly rub my back, I touch my head to his. I can feel his heartbeat as his chest rises and falls. It is the most beautiful feeling in the world. "I'm sorry," I whisper. He blows out a long breath. No, Dahlia. I'm the one that's sorry. We should talk. We need to talk. I know that's what we need, but seeing him now, being in his arms when I wasn't sure I would ever be again, I don't want to talk. I just want to be with him. I feel the last of the walls come down between us as we sit here wrapped in each other's arms, and all that is left is pure emotion, true love. I rest my head against his chest again, and this time inhale his scent, having missed it, and relish being so close to him. I look up at him, and with a shaky breath I tell him, we will. Just not yet. Please. I don't want to talk about what a mess we made out of everything right now. Okay, baby. Okay. But a beautiful thing is never perfect. He whispers as he kisses the top of my head and clings to me as tightly as I cling to him. Slipping my hands under his t-shirt, I trace the perfectly sculpted lines that outline each lean muscle. I feel his heart pounding above his ribs. When my tears keep falling, he continues to rock me. Then he puts his mouth to my ear and with a low, husky voice starts singing a song I've never heard before. It makes my skin tingle. I peek up at him and through muffled sobs ask, "What are you singing?" "A song I wrote for you. It's called Never in Pieces." He continues to sing and I sit here listening to his beautiful words. His voice wraps around me, bringing the comfort I know only from him, the amazing man singing to me. The words of the song push into me, making my heart expand with every word. He sings about never knowing what love was until he found me. His velvety voice sings in my ear with such intensity that I feel like I'm touching his soul with every lyric. I look at him and his eyes close as he sings about our relationship never being in pieces because nothing can break us. I absorb every single verse as my heart pounds and desire sweeps through me. I've never felt such an intimate connection to him. When he finishes, I know exactly how he feels, and I feel the same way. Nipping at his jaw, I press myself into him. Then I tip his chin back and look into his tranquil green eyes. "River, make love to me." He looks at me with his intense bedroom eyes and doesn't hesitate in saying, "There's nothing I want to do more right now than to touch you and taste you." I feel him instantly harden beneath me as he reaches and pulls my t-shirt off. I pull his off in turn. His mouth is on mine, his tongue finding its way into mine, and I'm hoping to leave a little bit of myself inside of him. As I sit on his lap enjoying every kiss, every lick, every touch, every breath we share, I know I will never take moments like these for granted. After a few minutes, he lifts me off the bed, turns us around, and sets me on my feet. Kneeling in front of me, he undoes my button, pulls my jeans down, and I step out of them. Our eyes stay connected every second. When he very slowly slides my panties off, I kick them aside. He guides me to sit on the edge of the bed and places each of my legs over his shoulders and starts kissing the inside of my thighs. My body tightens with anticipation. His eyes are still on mine. He runs his fingertips up and down the backs of my thighs and places his hands behind me, pulling me into him. His tongue is on me, but he's taking it slow this time. His face is in between my legs, right at my center. He starts by placing small kisses up and down my slick flesh. Then his fingers open me and his tongue strokes and licks perfectly. When he peeks up at me as I watch him, he says, "Dahlia, I need to taste every inch of you." I lift myself against his mouth, urging him to move faster, and he does. Then his hands are on my hips, keeping me firmly in place as he plunges his tongue inside me over and over. I start convulsing. The feeling is so unbelievably euphoric. My body trembles. "Oh, God, River!" I call out, but he doesn't stop. He keeps sucking me even through my orgasm, pushing me further. Gripping my hips tightly, he licks, kisses, and laps every inch of me. I don't even feel like my body is my own when another wave blasts through me. "Yes! Oh, God, yes!" I scream, and when I know I have nothing left, I gently push his shoulders back. He looks up at me and I drop to the ground to sit in front of him. I kiss him and he smiles through our kiss. I wasn't finished. I wanted to hear you scream my name again. Oh, you will. I promise. I unbutton his pants and run my hand inside his boxers, just needing to feel him. He stands up and pulls me with him. I love the way it feels to be in his arms. Setting me on the bed, he quickly removes his boots, pants, and boxers, and stands there looking so incredible. His taut muscles on full display. He takes my hand. Dahlia, can I make love to you now? He asks, and I melt. Every move, every motion is done with an almost unbearable slowness. I nod my head and pull him to me on the bed. But I want to feel every inch of him, so I roll us over and hover over him. He groans and pulls me down to him. He traces his tongue around the shell of my ear and then whispers all the things he wants to do to me. Dragging my tongue down his neck, his chest, I take him in my hands, gently stroking him, and he groans even louder. Placing a knee on either side of his legs, I glide my lips down his stomach. My hands continue to move up and down his length, and when my lips meet his tip, he shudders. I lose myself in the moment. This is the intimacy that I've missed. But when my mouth covers him, he pulls me back up to him. I lie against him, pressing my naked body into his and look at him. Why'd you stop me? He lets out a sigh and groans. I want to be inside you when I come. I move my mouth to his ear so I can whisper, You can be. No, Dahlia, I won't be if you do that. He molds my breasts with his palms and whispers things in my ear in that hot, raspy tone that makes me ache for him. Moving my hips, he pulls me on top of him, and he's right back where I need him to be. Elation sweeps through me as he easily slips in. His hands move to my backside, pressing me into him. When I fold my knees beneath myself and sit up, he lets out a long groan. But when I try to control the pace by interlocking my fingers with his on either side of his head, he grins and shakes his head. He leaves our hands there for a few moments, and I rock into him over and over, rolling my hips. Before long, his hands are on my hips, but I got this. Leaning back, I rest my palms on his knees and move slowly, rising up just far enough so we both feel the thrill of him sliding back inside. With every passing moment, I sink faster and deeper, but stay closer. My pulse pounds with excitement. Before I know it, he's clutching my legs, focusing on my every move. Our eyes meet and we are hypnotized by each other's expressions of pure pleasure. When I reach down between us and alternate stroking and squeezing whatever flesh I can get my hands on, he groans and curses so loud I lose myself. Continuing with this rapid pace, I feel nothing but complete bliss. The pressure builds swiftly, and I am quickly on the brink of climaxing again. It's heavenly. He pulls me to him and seals his lips to mine, thrusting his hips up. Breathing heavily, I know he's close. He rolls us over, never breaking our connection. Pulling my hands over my head, he takes control, and it's perfect. I watch as his body flexes rhythmically with mine. He moves faster, kissing me furiously. I'm pushed over the edge the second his tongue hits the roof of my mouth. Oh, God, yes! River, yes! I scream once again, and he stills, shouting my name as my waves of ecstasy bring on his own climax. When we are both spent, we fall into each other's arms and cuddle close together. I love you, River, I say, and I'm going to tell him this over and over again. I love you, Dahlia. I love every single thing about you. You're perfect, really. I can't contain my smile. I haven't heard him say that in so long, and hearing the familiar word sends shivers up my spine. I missed you, I whisper. He smiles at me. Tu m'as manqué. I look at him questioningly. I know he's speaking French, but have no idea what he just said. Tracing his finger around my lips, he says, Brigitte told me once that in France they don't say I missed you. They say you were missing from me. And you were. I have to compose myself before placing a soft kiss on his lips and nuzzling his nose. That is the perfect way to say it. It's how I have felt too, like he was missing from me. As I settle back in his arms, I think about how when we were together there was no need for instant gratification because there were no doubts between us. We both knew we had the rest of our lives together. I kiss him again and close my eyes, laying my head on his chest. He strokes his fingers up and down my bare back, and I feel myself fade. His soft, tender voice awakens me. Hey, when was the last time you ate? I playfully start biting his chest. Well, I was planning on having you, but you stopped me. He laughs, and it's the first time I've heard that sound in a while. No, really. I want you to eat something. I look up at him with a wicked smile on my face. Food, Dahlia, food. Then he smirks his devilish grin and says with a wink, Then you can have me for dessert. I sit up. Do you think it's too early for a grilled cheese, a chocolate milkshake, and French fries? Without answering, he sits up and grabs the hotel room phone to call room service. I'd like to order 2 chocolate milkshakes, 2 grilled cheeses, and 2 orders of fries, please. He slips his jeans on without boxers, and I wrap myself in the hotel robe. The food arrives and we eat, dipping our fries in each other's shakes. We alternate feeding each other and licking the shake off each other's mouths. We laugh and have fun like we haven't in what seems like forever. Once we've finished eating, we sit down and finally talk. And I mean, we actually talk. We don't yell, accuse, avoid, or blame. He settles against the bed. Okay, let's do this. I nod in agreement as I sit at the foot of the bed. Sighing, he drops his eyes. Belle came over to see me as soon as you left Mom's house. I know she told you everything. His eyes rise up to meet mine, and he crawls down to me and lifts my chin. First, you need to know how very sorry I am. How many times I tried to tell you. I just could never get the words out. I couldn't hurt you like that. I close my eyes. His apology so sincere that pain pierces through my heart from the weight of the secret he kept. Not just for me, but for him as well. The burden had to be almost unbearable. Taking a deep breath, I open my eyes and look at his gorgeous face for the longest time. Then I bring my lips to his and kiss him. It's not a burning with desire kiss. It's a kiss that lets him know he doesn't have to apologize anymore. I understand. When we break away, we smile at each other, and he lets out a long sigh before moving back to where he was sitting. Belle's pregnancy and decision to not keep the baby was really hard on all of us. Mom wanted her to keep it. Xander and I stayed out of it, but we also knew she wasn't ready to be a mother. But her decision to give up the baby was her own. I never voiced my opinion either way. I just told her I would be there for her. The day she had the baby, she didn't want to see it or know if it was a boy or girl. Mom was in there with her, and she saw the baby and held it just once. To this day, we never talk about it. Wiping my fingers under my eyes, I think about what he just said. Regardless of the fact that Ben fathered that child, this situation was heartrending, and I could only imagine how torn Belle was. That could not have been an easy decision to make. River, I called Ben and confronted him about the affair, but I didn't tell him about the baby. I'll never tell him about the baby. It's not my place. He nods somberly, agreeing with me. He rakes his fingers through his hair, and I can tell he has more to say. What is it? There's more. Belle is not the only reason I didn't tell you. When he was dead, I didn't want to hurt you that way. It didn't make sense, so I didn't say anything. When he came back, when he was standing right there in front of us, I wasn't sure if you'd go back to him, so I didn't tell you. but this time it was because of me. I needed you to pick me because you wanted to be with me, not because of how you'd feel about him when you found out. I'm not mad or angry with him for his admission. I had already let that go. Getting off the bed, I go sit next to him. I need to tell him how I feel, how I've always felt about him. I need to tell him what I should have all along. I never did because it felt wrong when Ben was dead. Like if I said the words out loud, Ben would hear me. Cupping his cheeks, I speak from my heart and divulge something I've never once said out loud. River, it's always been you. From the minute I saw you at the bar, I think it's always been you. I never even set a wedding date with Ben, and maybe that was why. Because you were the one for me. You are the one for me. After a moment passes, he sighs and brings me to his chest and just holds me, whispering, "Thank you." We stay that way until he dips his head to mine. By the way, Belle probably isn't speaking to me. I got really pissed when she told me she had talked to you. I allow one small smile and tell him, I'm sure she'll get over it. She's used to your moods. He chuckles. Yeah, I guess she is. And besides, she's so happy right now with her new job, I don't think she could stay mad at anybody for long. I smile big at that. And then I sit back on my knees. I talked to Grace yesterday. He looks at me with concern. How did it go? I smile. Really well. We're fine. More than fine. And after I talked to her, I only wanted to come home and talk to you. But Ellie was there and I couldn't face her. I was so upset to see her there again. I just knew it would piss me off to go inside, and I wanted so much to talk to you without any anger. So that's why I decided to go see Belle first and make sure she knew I wasn't mad at her. He nods. Ellie dropped by, and I was in no mood for her crap, but she tried making one last-ditch effort to get me back on the tour, and when she knew it was a lost cause, she left, and I waited for you to come home. I drove out to Laguna. Couldn't find you. Came home, found your phone in the closet, then stayed up all night. I called Ari, even Caleb. Then I wrote a song to pass the time, just not to go crazy. I started crying again. I'm so sorry I didn't call or come home. I wanted to. I have no idea why I didn't. Shh, don't cry. We're okay. We're together now, and nothing like that is ever going to happen again. Wiping my tears, I kiss him for a long while, then break free and decide it's time to talk about our jealousy. Ellie is easily put to rest, and surprisingly, so is Ben. He still half flinches when I say Ben's name, but I don't think that will ever pass, and I'm okay with that. River tells me, once I read the note you left me, I knew I had nothing to worry about, no reason to be jealous. He believes me, and I believe him. We both trust each other because, after all, isn't that what love is? Knowing someone can crush you, but believing they never will, trusting them not to. We talk about everything else that has happened between us over the last few weeks. Our urgent sex needs, his tantrums, my running away, my avoidance, and his need to protect me. These are talks from the heart, and they open up many old wounds for both of us. But it is okay. We even discuss his fervent need to protect the women he loves. He has a hard time explaining it, but I get it. I think it stems back to his father's selfishness. In the end, we both decide we will work toward communicating better. We also talk about the tour. He doesn't want that life, and I respect him for knowing when too much is just too much. He tells me Xander, Nix, and even Garrett aren't talking to him right now. He makes a joke that he's glad his mother is out of town, or he's sure she would have organized a sit-down. We both laugh at the thought, but we're also laughing because the seriousness of this rift among the band is more than we can bear. Finally, we talk about what happened the last 2 nights and how that couldn't happen again. We both agreed. I regretted that I didn't go home and stayed the night here alone the same way he had the night he stormed out. He knew why I went to a hotel, but I needed to know why he didn't come home. He explained that he went to Smitten's and was pretty drunk by the time Xander, Nix, and Garrett found him there. They all went back to Garrett's house and spent the night arguing. Xander and Nix walked out, and then Garrett and him drank until they both passed out. When he woke up, Garrett took him back to get his car, and then he came home. But by that time I was gone. All that was left was my note. He told me after he read my note he, too, found the strength to look past the chaos. So much had happened in such a short period of time, and we just weren't prepared for it. Neither one of us ever doubted the truth strength of our relationship, but we doubted each other's investment in it, and that was the scariest part. After baring our souls to each other, we lie together, embracing as if we are one. We know our love is strong. We have withstood what we hope to be one of the biggest issues we will ever have to face. Ben's return. I know we are much stronger because of it. Once the hard conversations are over, we enjoy the peacefulness of just being alone together. I'm lying on my side, mindlessly twirling one of my diamond stud earrings, and he's watching me intently. Did I ever tell you my parents had a thing for birthdays? He smirks. Most parents do, Dahlia. No, I mean really. They had an obsession. They would start asking me what I wanted for my birthday months ahead of time. For my 12th birthday, I told them I wanted a carousel. Now, I meant a musical one, but they rented out the merry-go-round at Griffith Park for an entire Saturday afternoon. It was amazing. With a wicked grin, he slides his finger down my bare stomach. I could rent it out for your next birthday, and we could have some fun if you're still into merry-go-rounds, that is. Hey, I feign offense. What can I say? I was 12 and liked riding the ponies. He laughs so hard he's almost crying. You walked right into that one. Laughing along with him, I say, yeah, I did. Holding his stomach, he takes a deep breath and manages, okay, tell me about another outrageous birthday present. See these? I say, pointing to my earrings. Well, for my 13th birthday, I told my parents I wanted something that sparkled like Ariel's mermaid tail. And these are what I got. He kisses my forehead. They're beautiful. And Dahlia, I can understand why your parents wanted to always make you happy. They loved you. Then, as if deep in thought, he starts caressing my back and humming the happy birthday song. I suddenly have a strong desire to hear him play. It's been so long since we've shared that intimacy, and I'm craving it. River, can I ask you to do something? He leans over and kisses me, then he whispers in my ear. Sure. Are you ready for dessert? I almost forgot what I wanted to ask him when his lips meet mine again, but I quickly remember. Well, of course. But first, will you play Never in Pieces for me? He props up his elbows. Now? He says as he leans back down and resumes kissing me, this time trailing feather-soft kisses up my neck. Yes, please, I beg. He sits up and gets off the bed. God, why can't I ever say no to you? Because you love me so much? I smile at him. Yes, I do, my girl. That I do. He says while pulling up his boxers, and I notice what I didn't notice before, that he's wearing his Pac-Man boxers. My breath quickens just watching him. I suck in a breath and happy tears form in my eyes. You wore my favorite boxers. He grins his familiar, heart-stopping grin and winks at me as he tugs on the waistband and nods. Then he picks up his guitar and sits on the edge of the bed. The muscles in his back flex in a way that makes me want to lick a line around each one. He twists sideways and his abs and pecs ripple with each movement. I bite down on my lower lip in anticipation as he sets himself up. His strong arm cradles the guitar as he rests it on his thigh. He looks over at me and pats his free hand on the bed, motioning for me to sit next to him. Closing the distance between us, I study him further as he begins to play. His nimble fingers pick the fretboard, and I am mesmerized as he moves with an effortless ease. Watching him, I can almost feel his fingers touching me with the same gentle ease. My eyes travel from his fingers up his arm. I study the muscles in his forearm, how his leg bobs up and down as his shoulders rock back and forth. I look at his face. Even with his eyes closed, he's beautiful. strong jaw, sculpted nose, smooth skin. As I soak in the sight of him, he's fully entranced in the music he's creating. And then he opens his eyes and smiles, and I melt. His green eyes gleam and his dimples come to life. He's the epitome of sexiness, and he's mine. He glances over at me as he sings the chorus, and my smile couldn't be any bigger. And just as his body sways to the beat of the chorus, so does mine. There are no pieces, I promise you. Glass can shatter and bones may break, but I will always call. I will always find you. Our love is strong. Let me ease your mind. Let me in. I will always love you. I will always love you. We'll never be in pieces. River is my future. I love him. I trust him. I need him. I lay my head on his shoulder and peek up at him. I'm completely captivated by his adorable expression while he's so engrossed in the music. When he finishes playing, he sets the guitar down. I love that song. Happily, he says, I love you. He laces his fingers in mine. Are you tired? I look at the clock. It's only noon, but feels like midnight. I yawn a little and he laughs. I think that would be a yes, he says as he pulls me down to the bed. River, can we stay here tonight? I just want to put my head on his chest and listen to his heartbeat, to shut out the rest of the world for just a little while longer. He kisses my head. Yeah, I was planning on it, he says as he yawns and stretches. I think he's asleep before I even close my eyes. Hours pass while we both sleep soundly. When I wake, I can see the sun is just about to set. I turn toward the window, trying not to wake him. The view that I ignored when I first arrived is magnificent. The beach is so beautiful and the mountains are majestic. This sunset would make a beautiful photo. It's beautiful, isn't it? He whispers in my ear. I turn toward him and give him a soft kiss. I thought you were still sleeping. No, I was just laying here thinking. What about? His body covers mine and he props himself up on his hands, one on either side of my face. Our life together. What it will be like. What do you see for us? He collapses his full weight on me. Besides this, he says, kissing me, tugging on my lower lip before rolling to his side and draping his arm around me. Pulling me close, he grins. I see us together, married, having kids, doing fun family things that our kids will never forget. I feel myself tremble as I imagine our perfect life, our children's lives being complete unlike either of ours were as children. How many kids do you want? He shrugs his shoulders. As many or as few as you want. Smiling so hard my face hurts, I run my fingers along his cheek. 3. I think 3. Yours is the perfect size family. Kissing my fingers, he says, yeah, it is. 3 is a good number. His eyes smile with that light I love, and I ask, what? He rubs his hand over my stomach. I was just thinking about how beautiful you're going to look pregnant. Tears of joy escape my eyes before I kiss him with love, with adoration, and a happiness that makes my stomach flutter. He nestles his head on my shoulder, and we lay quiet for a while, listening to the rain and just enjoying being together. After a while, River looks up at me. I love you, he whispers, and his warm breath sends a shiver down my spine. Me too. You love yourself? No, silly. I love you. I feel his mouth against my neck. Can we promise to always use words to tell each other how we feel? Of course, I say, because I can promise him that. I want to spend my life with him. I love him more than words can ever express. Reaching his hand down between my legs, he smirks and coyly says, I'll take of course as a green light in any conversation we have from now on. Giggling because it wasn't long ago that he said of course, Couldn't be assumed in any conversation, and now he's laughing about it. I hop off the bed and go find my jeans. Reaching into my pocket, I pull the guitar pick out and close it in my hand. Back in bed next to him, he just looks at me skeptically. Opening my palm, I show him the pick that reads, "I love you." Eyeing the pick, he says, "I knew which one was missing immediately, and I want that back, you know." Then he gently lifts my hand and kisses it and the pick together. "I love you too." God, I love everything about him, and I don't want to wait another day to be his wife and have his babies. I prop my elbow on the pillow and rest my chin on my hand. Pressing into him so that our bodies are melded together, I ask, "River Wild, will you marry me?" You can't ask me that. I've already asked you that question. His hand moves to my backside and pushes me further into him, solidifying us as a single unit. No, I mean marry me tomorrow. We can go home, grab a bag, and head to Vegas. His hand slides down my thigh. I don't know. My proposal was much more romantic. I'm the kind of guy who likes to be wined and dined. And besides, I'm not sure we can hop on a flight to Vegas naked. Hiding my smile, I tell him, "All right, lover boy. No making fun of my proposal. It was impromptu." He grabs my left hand, lifts it to his mouth, and kisses my ring. "I would love to marry you, Dahlia London. Tomorrow. Can't it come soon enough?" I smile widely and lean in to kiss him. He pulls away and draws an X over his heart. "And I promise, you'll never regret marrying me." His words sear me, branding me to the core. I know I will never regret one single second with him, and suddenly I know what I have to do. I quickly stand and he sits up, staring at me in confusion. I walk over to the room service tray, grab a butter knife, and return to the bed. Sitting in front of him, I hand him the knife and offer my wrist. He looks at me as if questioning what I'm asking him to do. I nod my head. I don't have to wear a no regrets bracelet because I know I will never regret a single moment of my life with you. He swallows and then loosens 2 of the screws on my bracelet. He stares intently at me as he removes the last thing connecting me to Ben. I'm now completely his. Not that I haven't been since the day we met, but somehow this cements it. He touches his forehead to mine and whispers, "Thank you." I lean back and clutch his face in my hands. My eyes meet his, and there are no words to describe the look on his face right now. He pushes aside a piece of my hair and tucks it behind my ear. Slowly kissing his way down my neck, he tells me, "I want you forever." I whisper back, "God, I love you so much." His lips lift into a smirk. Good, because now that we've both professed our undying love for each other, can I touch you everywhere? Chapter 25. All or Nothing. Amazing Grace starts ringing from the floor where River had tossed our phones. They rang on and off all day, but neither one of us paid attention to them. We needed time together, alone, to just shut out the world. Looking sleepy-eyed at the clock, alarm overcomes me. It's only 4:23 a.m. Why would Grace be calling so early? Jumping out of bed, I look for the illuminated phone on the carpet. The phone stops ringing before I get to it, but starts again immediately. I hit the answer button. "Hello?" "Doll, I'm sorry to call you like this," he says, and I tense at his wistful tone, anger surging through me. How dare he use Grace's phone to call me? "Ben, I don't want to talk to you. Don't ever call me again." I seethe and move to hit the end button. "It's Grace," he manages before I actually hang up. My pulse races as I stagger to the bed. River sits up. "Give me the phone. I'll take care of it." I shake my head no and hold up one finger. "Ben, what about her?" Ben is quiet for the longest time. River's mouth tightens and he tries to grab the phone from me, but I turn away. "Ben, tell me what's wrong." River reaches to turn the light on and wraps a blanket around me. "Doll, she's in the hospital." My eyes fill with tears. "Hospital? What happened?" "It's bad, Doll. I'd rather tell you when you get here." Seeing my pain, River senses the urgency. He stands up and pulls his boxers and jeans on. No, tell me now. We rushed her to the ER last night. She had a massive stroke. A stroke? What does massive mean? I am trembling as I reel from the news and try to understand what it means. River is on the hotel phone calling the valet. Ben is crying. She's unresponsive. Her brain is hemorrhaging. I think you should come now. She's going to be all right, isn't she? Just come now. We're at mission, he says and then hangs up. I can feel my face go slack, my mouth dropping open slightly, and all I can do is stare wide-eyed at River. He's looking over at me with concern. I open my mouth to speak, to reassure him, but snap it shut and gulp. Finally, I manage in a raspy, barely audible tone. We have to get to the hospital in Laguna as soon as possible. It's Grace. He squeezes me against his chest, and I allow myself a minute to lean into him. His fingers find my chin and lift it up. I'll be with you every minute, okay? I nod. I blink. I've been broken and glued back together so many times already. Not again. Please, not again. I rest my face against his chest and cry out, Please let Grace be all right. Sirens wailing, lights cycling red. An ambulance pulls into the entrance where the bright blue letters read, Emergency Room. River follows the signs to visitor parking and we enter the dark underground garage. I stare silently ahead as he squeezes my hand and we head into the hospital. I'm suddenly petrified of what's going to happen. The sliding doors open and shut as we enter. Stopping at the information desk, River gives Grace's name. After a few clicks of her keyboard, the woman directs us to an area called Comfort Care, and I'm not sure whether that is good or bad. I flinch as we walk through the hall and hear a snapping noise. Someone is raising a gurney, and for some reason the noise is more than I can take right now. Every step brings me closer to Grace. I look around as we walk and think how hospitals are strange places. People are always whispering everywhere. Why? Are they afraid that speaking out loud makes everything more real? I look into each room as we pass them. Families sit with their loved ones. Some old, some young, some looking well, and some looking very sick. We cautiously approach the ICU, and Serena is talking to one of the doctors who has a chart in his hand. He looks down at the papers and she nods her head, her face expressionless and unreadable. River stops at the waiting area, but I keep walking. He squeezes my hand. I know he's here for me, but I have to go see Grace. I'm scared of what I will find, but I know I have to do this. I turn to look at him, and he nods. I travel what seems like miles, and when the doctor goes in the room, Serena turns and sees me. Dahlia! She cries, her eyes filling with tears. I look into the room and see Ben by the side of the bed, and start to walk in. Serena grabs my arm, and Ben's position is preventing me from getting a clear view. Serena, I want to see her. How is she? I look at her face, and I know it's bad. Let's go over here and talk, she manages, taking deep breaths in between her words. She walks us back to where River is standing and motions us both to sit down. She sits next to me and grabs my hand. River holds the other. Taking another deep breath, she says, They just did a CT scan and the swelling has moved to the other side of the brain. I blurt out, It will go down, right? She squeezes my hand even tighter. No, Dahlia, there's nothing they can do. It's just a matter of time before her heart or lungs give out. I shake my head. But we're in a hospital. Of course there is something they can do. They're giving her morphine to ease any suffering, and she's on oxygen to help with her breathing. But Dahlia, she has no brain activity. She's already gone. No, Serena, I don't believe it. I can't accept what she's telling me, but I pull her to me and hug her as tight as I can. My heart shatters, but I struggle to pull myself together. Grace is Serena's mother, and I know what it is like to lose your mother. I blink back my tears, trying to be strong for her. I want to see her, She nods her head and stands. I look over to River and walk with Serena to see Grace. As we walk back down the hall, I say a silent prayer. I haven't prayed to God since he took my parents from me, but I pray now. I pray for him to turn Grace's condition around and to give me the strength to make it through whatever happens. My stomach is in knots as I take slow, cautious steps toward the bed. Red lights blink from various devices and a white sheet covers most of her small body. The closer I get, I can see that it's Grace lying there, but it doesn't really look like her. She's too pale, her hair unkempt, but she looks asleep. Like I might be able to wake her if I try. So I take her lifeless hand and squeeze it, mentally willing her to squeeze back, to wake up. But her hand is cold and unresponsive against my feverish skin. I clutch her hand harder, trying to warm it, and bend forward to place my forehead against hers, kissing her. "I love you, Grace," I whisper. Through the metal bed rail, I see so many wires, tubes, and cords leading from one machine to another, and then to her. I'm surprised how noisy they all are for such a quiet place. Every whoosh pumps oxygen through a clear tube. Each bleep indicates the rate at which her heart is beating, and the sound of air compressing monitors her blood pressure. An alarm goes off and I jump. When Grace's body twitches slightly and she gasps for air, I look at Ben in horror and scream, "Shouldn't someone be in here to monitor her?" He looks at me somberly, withdrawn even, as he answers, "It's okay. That's just a warning that her oxygen saturation level is low." Quickly, a nurse comes in and turns the dial near the tank. She waits a few minutes to take Grace's pulse, and then she leaves. I hear whispering behind me and see Serena is talking to River outside the door. When my eyes return to Grace, it strikes me anew how ashen and lifeless her complexion looks. How can this be happening to Grace? This woman has been my mother since the day mine died. She shared all my ups and downs and guided me through so much. My throat tightens and I suddenly feel dizzy. I can't stay in here. I run out of the room and go to River. He sits me down and I pull my knees up to my chest. He crouches in front of me and strokes my cheek with his fingers, but doesn't say a word. When he tips my chin so that I'm looking into his eyes, he whispers, "You have to do this. You have to stay with her, baby. She needs you." I unfold my arms and cup his cheeks and simply nod. He pauses as if to gather his own strength before standing and pulling me up. His arms circle around me. "I'm so sorry." I kiss him softly on the lips, my heart filled with so much love for him and so much sadness for Grace that I'm sure it's going to burst. I don't think I have room left for any other emotions. I tell myself he's right. I am strong. I can be there for Grace, Serena, and even Ben. One more deep breath and then I make myself walk back into the room. I look at Serena, who seems paralyzed with fear. I look at Ben and his eyes are closed, but when he opens them they are ravaged with pain. Moving next to Serena, I grab her hand and can feel how her body trembles. Her voice breaks. "Are you okay?" "No, I'm not okay," I say in complete honesty. She turns to me. "I know. Neither am I." Hugging her, I whisper, "I'm so sorry for not telling you about Trent." She shakes her head. "No, I'm sorry. I should never have yelled at you that way. Ben explained everything." My gaze moves to him, noticing his sad blue eyes, and I quickly look back to Serena. Oh God, where is Trent? Is he alone? "We took him to the recovery center yesterday afternoon. She came with us," he says, his voice cracking and his eyes focused on his mother. "We went back to Laguna and brought her home. I walked her in and she had trouble getting up the stairs. She said she felt dizzy and then, all of a sudden, she complained of a severe headache. She hadn't been feeling well all day, so I had her lie down. When I couldn't wake her up, we called 911 and got here as soon as we could. But it was too late." Tears are streaming down his face as he tells me. I can't see him like this. I hate him, but my heart aches for him. For a while, Serena, Ben, and I sit in silence by Grace's bed. Then I step into the corridor. River is in the waiting area, looking out the huge window. It's still raining, and I have no idea how long we've been in the room. Walking over to him, I lean on